I want to talk to you, Luke, about one player specifically from the Munster team who's an interesting case. Rudd actually mentioned this to me in the office the other day, and I initially balked, but then I came around to maybe some of his way of thinking. You know, a perennial problem with Ireland over the last maybe year, 2 years, has been being held up over the line. We're talking about maybe renewing the team in certain areas. And Rudd asked me, who's the best player in Ireland at getting over the try line? And I immediately was like, Gavin Coombes. So Gavin Coombes...
I'm glad. Yeah.
Gavin Coombes in the last 5 seasons has played 98 games and scored 47 tries. So that's almost a try every second game. And I would say they've been cumulatively from about 50 yards, because it's like 1 yard per try, I would say. He's the master at like those positions where Ireland are actually getting held up all the time, which is from close range and powering over. And that's not to say he should start for Ireland or necessarily, but it gave me food for thought anyway. Rudd was like, would you moneyball it and pick a player like that whose specific skill set is scoring tries from close range? I thought it was an interesting thought. I don't know, obviously, because like even to have him come in and do a PowerPoint presentation and be like, this is what I do, and I'm only half joking, like as in go to Caelan Doris and be like, this is actually how I do it, Caelan. What do you make?
Like Rudd's workshop in a column here.
I did tell him I was going to give him credit for his thought when I came on, and he was more than happy for me to throw it into the melting pot. But Luke, what do you make of that? Any of that?
Well, do you know what? It's don't put much credibility in it. I do find it interesting. There's 2 things I find interesting in it. Is that I do think I'm glad I'm not the only one who's kind of identified a problem with, you know, getting held up over the line. Like that's definitely an issue. I was wondering, was that just me, you know, seeing that in kind of big games? And I think they need to have some thinking about what's going on there. Why is it happening? Are they coming in too high to the contact? Are they, you know, like what's happening? Are they going for the line one too early? You know, or sorry, one phase too early. There's something to be thinking about there. I'm not sure Gavin Coombes giving a PowerPoint presentation or pitching them on tries is the way, but he is bloody good at it. And Munster are quite patient around there, I think, around the line. And look, I think what is interesting about that also is that he's not even in the conversation anymore. There was a period where Gavin Coombes, do you remember he had that brilliant match in the RDS where he was kind of one of the only kind of Munster players? I'm going to say it's probably 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it was during COVID. It was 2021.
Yeah, but he was one of the only guys who kind of stood up and had a brilliant game. And we were kind of saying, okay, what's the next step for this guy? Where does he go from here? But like, he's been very consistent for Munster. And I just wonder why we haven't been talking about him a bit more. Why is he not, like, you know, like when he's left out of an Ireland team, we don't discuss it. I assume it's because you've got Doris and Conan as a lion who's been playing brilliantly as well. That's probably what the hold-up is. But it is an interesting one that we haven't really discussed that much. And those numbers, whatever you say about it, like, oh, look, I'm not a big, and it suits my narrative as well about my own career about, you know, not looking at tries too closely because I wasn't exactly prolific. I think prolific would be a serious overstatement, but you have to marry that between being a good player and getting tries. But there's definitely a knack to scoring tries, and that's an unbelievable stat that you just pulled out. Was it 47 out of 98?
47 tries in his last 98 games.
Serious try scoring record.
Yeah, that's a record that Joe Rockakoko.
In the competition.
Yeah, no, 100%. And amid my joking, I was joking around a bit, Jonathan, but there is a serious point. Like, he is very good at getting over the line from close range. Like, I doubt any of his tries have come from more than 5 metre carries or less. That is something that, you know, the Irish team could learn from, and I would say Leinster to a degree as well, because I feel like they, you know, the similar players, they get held up a good bit too.
Yeah, I think so. I think, to my mind, and thinking about it more anecdotally, I suppose it is decision making from Ireland. I think they, especially if you look at the situations in which they got held up in the France game, it was going too early. It was taking, you know, a top penalty and diving for the line rather than displaying that patience. I would wonder whether the record of scoring tries in URC would translate to scoring tries at international level, where defenses are more switched on, especially in that sort of goal line to 5 meters out. I feel like it would be much harder to score a try internationally.
Better athletes as well, Jonathan, wouldn't there be?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
guys. They're like the best guys in their team. It's 15 of the best guys in their local team, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm not claiming he should start for Ireland. I'm just saying that he has a skill set of scoring tries from close range that we've been banging our head about Ireland in that scenario. Is there anything that can be gleaned from what he does or transferred from what he does? That's more what I'm asking.
Like, I think as a part of a wider thing, like, it's something that I've been thinking about whenever we talk about regenerating the Ireland team. Coombes came in and made his debut during that 2021 summer tour during the Lions, one of 10 players that came in and made their debut. Like, none of those players went on to make a massive impact or have gone on to make a massive impact during the years that have followed. Shane came in just after that. But if you look at, the Lions tour before that, where, James Ryan made his debut, Andrew Porter made his debut, Jacob Stockdale made his debut. It sort of feels now, like looking back to those games against USA and Japan, where we all got very excited about all the players that were coming through. Like, I do wonder where all those players have gone. A lot of them have fallen off the radar. Coombes is probably the biggest omission, I would say, if you're looking at provincial form and why that hasn't translated into the international arena. As Luke says, we don't really even notice it when he's not there anymore, So I think whenever we look ahead to this summer and it being a Lions tour and blooding those new players, I think there would need to be a look back at to why that crop of 2021 players that come in didn't really make the step up to becoming test regulars.